In this video, I'm sharing 5 creative and lovely ways that you can use watercolor paints in your journal. Our video today is sponsored by Archer and Olive. Welcome back, friends. My name is Shayda Campbell, and as you know, Archer and Olive makes my favorite journals. So in today's video, I'm using their watercolor notebook along with their new paint set to share 5 ways that you can incorporate watercolor into your bullet journaling. I've got some good ideas to share, so let's get started. Okay, so I am working in an Archer and Olive watercolor notebook. This has heavy, good quality paper that takes a wet medium beautifully. So if you're using a lot of watercolors in your bujo, this is the journal for you. Just a note, this coil notebook is a little older. The new ones are bound and have blank pages. And here are the new paints from Archer and Olive. These watercolors are not only environmentally responsible, but they're created with locally sourced materials. Let me open up my little palette and you'll see I've got a nice selection of very earthy, simple colors that are going to look great in my bujo. These paints are made with honey, and you'll notice when I start using them, they are highly pigmented. Archer and Olive also sent me 6 additional colors so that I can kind of pick and choose and play around. I'm actually going to move them out of the wood palette into this little tin and use a larger palette, but this gorgeous wood set is going to be great anytime I'm bujoing on the go or plein air painting. In addition to the paints, I will be using a number 4 round brush, just something nice and small for working in a relatively small space like a journal. I'm also going to incorporate some white gouache into one of the projects. You can use a paint pen though, or a gel pen. I've got a pencil and eraser, a couple fine liners, something like the Mulatto black liners are really great for journaling. And then I am also going to use like a black brush pen. So pretty basic supplies other than my watercolor paints. Let's try out our paints. With a clean wet brush, I scrub at that cake of dried paint and I get the pigment nice and wet. It lifts beautifully out of the pan and I can move it over to the palette where I can mix and play with my colors. I might mix a little yellow in to make a peachy color. So that's what I'll be doing, using colors straight out of the pan and keeping things simple. Time for our first project. Now this whole page piece of sort of graphic, simplistic art would look great as a monthly cover page. And the idea here is that you're really simplifying. You're almost painting something childish. And here's how I begin. I'm taking that peachy pink that I mixed and I just drew like a very basic vase shape. Then I'm gonna go around and fill in a nice rectangle. So I'm doing this big color block. And I just love that beautiful peachy color that I mixed up. Then I mixed a little bit of blue and I tried out some of the green and I decided I would fill in my vase with that beautiful sky blue. So I haven't mixed anything else. That's that color of blue right out of the palette and I think it looks gorgeous. I'm also mixing an orange, so there's a red and sort of a mustard yellow in the palette, and I am going to do these really basic simple daisies, and so I'm doing 3 circles. From there, we grab our white gouache, and gouache is highly opaque. You still need to mix it with water, just like the watercolor paints, but you can place gouache, even if it's a really light color, over top of dark colors, or any color really, like this peach. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do, and we're going to continue our graphic, simple art with these daisies. They're becoming daisies, obviously, and all I need to do is paint a bunch of petals sort of around each orange splotch, and I think that looks really cute. I did get some bleeding of the orange and white. You know what? It's okay. Finally, I wasn't loving the green for this particular piece, so I tried out that beautiful dark blue, and I'm just adding stems and leaves. This is a simple, almost childlike piece of artwork that I think looks so graphic and punchy and cool as a cover page. Write the month title underneath and you're all done. This took me about 15 minutes to complete. Next up, I'm using watercolor paints to help me create a really simple lettering project. In this case, I'm pretending we're going into February. Well, we are going into February. I'm recording this in January. And so I'm just going to do a little February calendar page. I find that working with a small paintbrush and a nice blend of paint, it's actually really easy to kind of do a bubble letter because the paint is very forgiving. You can go around and kind of work out the shape of the letters slowly and carefully. And kind of like the first piece of art, you can make them a little wrong and a little wonky and they look super cute. So I'm just gonna write Feb there. And another idea, if you wanna continue with your watercolor paints, is to just lay down splotches of color, whether it's a banner for a month title or a large square like this that you can place a calendar on top of. It's a great way to add a little bit of color to your journal in a really easy, casual way. Once that has dried completely, of course, we can take our fine liner and add to the lettering. I find this is such an easy way to do bubble letters, which I kind of find a little tricky to do just on a blank page. Add a shadow if you like, that just makes everything pop. I'll add my calendar, the year, maybe a small doodle or two, and I've got a really simple yet beautiful cover page that I hope you'll find very, very achievable. Just like the hand lettering and calendar, our third project is all about using the watercolor paints to add color in a really quick and easy way. For really no reason whatsoever, I've decided on oranges as my subject, so I did like a really quick sketch on the page, 2 circles and kind of some stems, and then I mixed up some orange and I'm filling in these 2 circles, keeping everything super messy and casual. I used a little bit of that dark yellow at the center of my orange blossom. And then I tried out this beautiful sandy color for my leaves. Remember, not everything needs to be the color that it is. Think about how you can make your illustration yours by switching up colors, like having blue or brown leaves. And this is so fun and simple. You're just gonna put a swash of color for each leaf, you know, fill those oranges in super messy, and then just leave it alone, let it dry. You don't want your painting to be too precious. You want it to look messy because when it does dry, you're going to come in with some sort of pen, marker, brush pen, and you're going to, you know, draw this illustration, and it's not going to quite line up with that color that you laid down. So everything's going to have this wonderful, casual, illustrative, artsy, fartsy quality. Just keep it really free and don't follow the color too carefully because everything should look a little bit messy, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. Some leaves can be outlined, some don't need to be outlined, just do a few veining lines, and we've got this really quick and simple cover page that maybe takes all of 20 minutes to create. You can add the month title and the date, and that's all there is to it. Idea number 4 is a Shayda Campbell classic, and that is just a nice splotch of color with a little pen illustration on top. Floral illustration, I should say. So on my palette here, I've mixed up some browns and beiges and pinks, and I'm just laying down these splotches of color, just trying to keep it messy. I think with me, you see someone who doesn't do messy or casual very well, like trying so hard to make it perfectly imperfect. And the more free you can be with this, the better. Once those little areas have dried, you could do a little grid of 4 or do a random number like I've done here. We're just gonna come in with a pencil and do some of our favorite little floral sketches. Could be just leaves, could be flowers. If you're not familiar with this kind of doodle, keep it really, really simple, like just some stems and basic leaves can look really sweet, especially when you've taken the time time to do that watercolor splash of color. So I did do a couple in pencil just to show you that that's totally fine, but you can also just get right in there with pen if you're confident, and this can again be this really quick and fun little journal doodle. I think this would look great as a cover page, but I would use this more for a filler page that goes kind of beside my monthly calendar or beside a one-page weekly layout, or I might just do one splash of color with a larger doodle and put a little quote or inspirational page, something like that. Okay, I might have saved the best for last on this one. Our final project is a cutaway page that is so great for playing and experimenting with your watercolor painting. I know a lot of you watching this might be new to watercolor painting. You might just be getting into it simply because this brand that we love, Archer and Olive, has released watercolors. So this page is a wonderful way to practice. Here I've mixed up some colors pretty much just out of the palette. You can see this wonderful bright magenta, yellow, and blue, and then I mixed the pink and magenta together to get that lighter pink. But all I'm doing is filling in an entire page with lots of flowers and leaves. And as I say on the channel all the time, florals are great brush stroke practice. It's a wonderful way to get to know the feel of the brush in your hand. You can make a leaf with just one fluid brush stroke, you know, make it messy and leave it alone. Don't overthink this stuff. This is a great piece to get lost in and just practice those watercolor brushwork movements. And if you're still feeling like you need help, I have tons of videos about watercolor florals on my channel, so head to my channel homepage. Okay, once that has dried, we are going to really make this pop by working on the page above it. I've drawn a letter here, in this case it's the letter M, and we are simply going to carefully cut that out. So place a cutting mat just underneath this singular page, use a paper knife and a ruler if you need to, and we're just going to cut that out. Wow. Speeding that up, it looks so painless. It was really annoying to do, but it was worth it because this looks so cute. My M for May is not perfect. She's not perfect, but she looks good. And all I need to do, of course, is write the month title, the date. And again, I've got this really graphic and lovely cover page that was a wonderful way to try out my new paints and practice my watercolor florals. That's it, guys. 5 fun ways to use watercolor in your bullet journal and 5 pretty ways to use watercolor in your journal. Use the links in the video description to shop all of the products mentioned in today's video. Check out the Archer and Olive journals that I love, as well as their new selection of watercolor paints. Thanks again to Archer and Olive for sponsoring today's video. Please, if you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial.